The first time anyone noticed something had changed between Nadia and Celeste was during the farewell dinner outside Nadia's mother's house. Yellow lanterns swayed gently above the crowded yard, while charcoal smoke drifted through the humid night air. Neighbors laughed loudly, children chased each other between plastic chairs, and old women blessed Nadia for having the courage to leave home and work abroad. But every time someone praised Nadia, Celeste's smile tightened ever so slightly. Nobody said anything, not even Nadia. She trusted Celeste too deeply to notice jealousy hiding beneath affection. They had grown up together, shared meals during hard times, cried together when Nadia buried her father beneath a sky so gray it looked bruised. Celeste had once sworn they would remain sisters forever, no matter where life carried them. Trust like that does not disappear suddenly. It rots quietly. By midnight, music thundered from old speakers, while distant thunder rolled behind the hills. Nadia stood slowly and lifted her glass. Everything I do, she said softly, I do for a better future. And no matter how far I go, my heart stays with the people I love. Applause erupted around her. Celeste raised her own glass last. To new beginnings, she whispered. But something cold lingered beneath those words. 3 days later, Nadia boarded a plane to Belgium, carrying 2 suitcases and dreams larger than her fear. The city greeted her with icy rain, unfamiliar languages, and loneliness sharp enough to make breathing painful. Still, she endured. She cleaned the floors until her knees burned, worked double shifts caring for elderly patients, slept inside cramped apartments beside strangers who cried quietly at night from homesickness. Every month, she sent money home. Every week, she called Celeste. Your roses are blooming beautifully, Celeste would say warmly over the phone. I water them every morning. Nadia always smiled. Thank you for checking on the house. You know I always will. Sometimes Celeste even video called from inside Nadia's bedroom while dusting shelves or changing curtains. Nadia never questioned why her friend seemed increasingly comfortable there. Trust blinds people more effectively than darkness. Months passed. Then came Marcos. Nadia met him during a December snowstorm after sleeping outside a grocery store. He caught her before she hit the icy pavement. You apologize too much, he told her later while helping carry groceries home. Maybe because mistakes are punished quickly where I come from, Nadia answered quietly. Marcus looked at her carefully. And who taught you that kindness deserves punishment? Nobody had ever asked her that before. Marcus became warmed during the coldest season of her life. He cooked soup after her long shifts, waited awake when she worked late nights, held her hand when homesickness overwhelmed her. Slowly, Nadia allowed herself to imagine something dangerous, a future. She told Celeste everything. He sounds perfect, Celeste said during one late night call. Not perfect, Nadia replied softly. Just kind. But something dark flickered across Celeste's face before disappearing. 2 years later, Nadia finally returned home because a mother's health had declined unexpectedly. The village welcomed her with drums, laughter, and joyful cries. Children chased her taxi through dusty roads, while neighbors gathered outside staring proudly at the woman who had gone abroad and returned transformed. Celeste ran toward her first. Look at you, she shouted, embracing her tightly. Yet during that embrace, Nadia noticed something strange. Celeste smelled faintly like cedarwood soap, the exact brand Nadia used only inside her bedroom. The thought vanished quickly beneath excitement. Over the following days, Nadia unpacked pieces of her old life. At first, everything looked normal. Her roses still bloomed beside the porch. Her books remained neatly arranged. But then the tiny details began whispering. A coffee mug she never bought sat beside the sink. A men's jacket appeared behind the kitchen door one evening, before disappearing the next morning. Her bed sheets carried unfamiliar cologne beneath detergent. Each discovery scratched quietly against her thoughts. One afternoon, Nadia returned unexpectedly from the market and found Celeste inside her bedroom. You scared me. Celeste laughed too quickly. What are you doing? Nadia asked. Just cleaning. Again, that strange tension passed between them. That night rain hammered the roof while Nadia stared into darkness, unable to sleep. Something was wrong. She felt it, the way animals sense storms before thunder arrives. 3 nights later, she entered a closet, searching for old medical papers beneath folded blankets. Then she froze. A photograph rested hidden beneath sweaters. Celeste stood smiling beside Nadia's bed, wearing one of Nadia's silk robes. Marcus stood behind her, with his hands around her waist. The room suddenly felt airless. Hands trembling violently, Nadia reached deeper into the closet and discovered a hidden shoebox. Inside were photographs, hotel receipts, love letters, evidence carefully buried inside the place Nadia once considered safest in the world. One letter shattered her completely. You promised once she returned, everything would finally change. Rain exploded against the roof. Nadia pressed trembling fingers over her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Then, footsteps approached outside the bedroom. Celeste's voice drifted softly through the darkness. Nadia? Part 2. Nadia shoved the letters back into the shoebox seconds before the bedroom door creaked open. Celeste stood there wearing concern across her face. Why are you sitting in the dark? Nadia forced herself to breathe normally. I was looking for papers. Celeste glanced toward the closet. For one horrifying second, fear flashed inside her eyes. Then it vanished. Did you find them? She asked carefully. Not yet. Celeste lingered awkwardly before leaving the room. The second the door closed, Nadia collapsed onto the floor. Silent tears poured down her face while thunder shook the house. Every memory now felt poisoned. Every phone call, every reassurance, every sacrifice. The next morning, something inside her changed. She stopped crying. That frightened her more than the betrayal itself. Over the following days, Nadia watched quietly instead of confronting anyone. And the more carefully she observed Celeste, the uglier the truth became. Celeste no longer behaved like a visitor inside the house. She moved through rooms with unconscious ownership, opened cabinets without asking, folded Marcos's old sweater with terrifying familiarity before quickly setting it down once she realized Nadia was watching. You kept that? Celeste asked softly. Marcos left it before I traveled, Nadia replied. Celeste swallowed hard. That single reaction revealed more than words. Soon, Nadia uncovered even more evidence hidden in ordinary places. A second toothbrush beneath the sink, deleted messages recovered from an old tablet, receipts dated during times Marcos claimed he was working overseas. One message froze her blood completely. Celeste, when she comes back, what are we going to do? Marcos, she always forgives people. Nadia reread that sentence again and again, not because they respected her kindness, because they depended on it. Outside, village life continued normally, while her world quietly collapsed. Women bargained in crowded markets. Children laughed beside dusty roads. Men gathered beneath shop awnings discussing politics and harvests. Yet everywhere Nadia walked, she felt pity following her. One elderly neighbor finally stopped her near the church steps. You deserve truth, the woman whispered. Nadia's heartbeat slowed. People saw Marcos here many times, too many times. Nadia closed her eyes, and nobody told me. The woman lowered her gaze silently. Silence became answer enough. That evening, Marcos called from Belgium. I booked my flight, he said warmly. I'll arrive next Friday. That's good, Nadia answered quietly. You sound tired. I am. A pause followed. I miss you, Marcus whispered. Those words nearly shattered her, not because she believed them anymore, because once upon a time she would have died happily hearing them. Do you? She asked softly. Marcus laughed nervously. What kind of question is that? Nadia started toward the closet. The kind people ask before everything changes. For the first time, fear entered his voice. Nadia, what's wrong? But she said nothing. Instead, she made a decision. The village would hear the truth. 3 days later, Nadia announced a welcome gathering at her house to celebrate her return and Makosi's arrival. Curiosity spread rapidly because rumors already floated through the village like smoke. Celeste appeared nervous immediately. Why such a big celebration suddenly? She asked, while helping prepare food. Nadia smiled faintly. Maybe I realized life is too short for silence. The day of the gathering arrived beneath swollen dark clouds. Villagers crowded the yard, carrying food trays, while soft music drifted through humid evening air. Nadia wore a deep emerald dress Marcus once called unforgettable. Celeste wore white. Several women exchanged uncomfortable glances. Then Marcus arrived. The moment he saw Nadia, relief flooded his face. He embraced her tightly. You have no idea how much I missed you, he whispered. Nadia looked over his shoulder toward Celeste. Her best friend could barely meet her eyes. Dinner passed beneath unbearable tension. Marcus laughed too loudly. Celeste drank too quickly. Thunder rumbled overhead like a warning from heaven itself. Finally, Nadia stood. The yard slowly fell silent. She lifted her glass exactly the same way she had before leaving for Europe years earlier. I want to thank everyone who supported my family while I worked abroad, she began calmly. Several villages shifted uneasily. Distance teaches painful lessons, Nadia continued. Sometimes you discover who truly loves you. Other times, she looked directly at Celeste. You discover who was only waiting for your absence. The air became heavy. Makusi's expression changed instantly. Celeste lowered her gaze. Then Nadia reached beneath the table and removed the shoebox. Gasps rippled across the yard. I found something in my closet, she said quietly. Marcus stood abruptly. Nadia, no. Her voice cut through the storm sharply. You've spoken enough through lies already. Rain began falling softly. Nadia pulled out the photographs first. Villagers stared in horrified silence as image after image passed between trembling hands. Marcos kissing Celeste, hotel receipts, love letters, photographs taken inside Nadia's own bedroom. Celeste's face drained completely. Marcos stepped forward desperately. Please let me explain. Explain what? Nadia demanded, her voice finally breaking. Explain how my best friend slept in my bed while I destroyed my body overseas, trying to build a future for us? Thunder exploded overhead. Some women covered their mouths. Others looked away in shame. Part 3. Rain poured harder now, soaking decorations and sending guests rushing beneath awnings. But nobody left. The truth had finally stepped into the light. Marcus reached toward Nadia desperately. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Nadia laughed bitterly through tears. That's the problem with betrayal. Nobody plans the ending. They only enjoy the secret while it survives. Celeste finally spoke. I never wanted to hurt you. Nadia turned slowly toward the woman she once called sister. That might be the cruelest lie of all. For several seconds, only rain spoke between them. Then Celeste broke. You always had everything, she shouted suddenly. Everyone loved you. Everything came easier for you. The crowd stared uncomfortably. Nadia stared at her in disbelief. Easier? She whispered. I cleaned the floors until my hands bled overseas. I missed funerals. I watched my mother grow sick through a phone screen. What part of that looked easy to you? But jealousy rarely listens to truth. Celeste's mascara ran down her cheeks like black tears. You still had hope, she snapped. People still chose you. Marcus lowered his head silently. Nadia looked at him next. And you? He could not answer. That silence wounded her more deeply than every lie, because somewhere inside it lived cowardice, not love. Marcus finally spoke quietly. I never meant for things to go this far. Nadia shook her head slowly. That sentence follows every betrayal in history. Villagers watched silently while rain flooded the yard around them. Then Nadia did something nobody expected. She carefully placed the letters back inside the shoebox. I spent years believing sacrifice guarantees loyalty, she said softly. But loyalty built on convenience collapses the moment temptation arrives. Celeste sobbed openly now. Still, Nadia felt strangely calm. The pain remained enormous, but truth had removed uncertainty. And certainty, even painful certainty, carries strange peace. Marco stepped closer again. Nadia, please, we can fix this. She looked at him with quiet disbelief. Fix, as though betrayal were cracked furniture instead of shattered trust. You didn't break a relationship, she said quietly. You broke the part of me that believed home was safe. Those words silenced him completely. Nearby, Nadia's mother stood beneath the porch roof watching everything unfold through tearful eyes. And suddenly, Nadia realized something important. This humiliation would not define her forever, not if she refused to carry it. She stepped away from Marcus, then away from Celeste. And for the first time in years, she chose herself. The following morning, the village buzzed with gossip like restless insects after a storm. Some people defended Celeste quietly, others condemned Marcos openly. Many simply enjoyed the scandal. But Nadia no longer cared. She spent the day helping her mother prepare breakfast, while sunlight slowly returned across the hills. Around noon, someone knocked at the gate. Celeste. Her eyes looked swollen from crying. I just want to talk, she whispered. Nadia stepped outside slowly. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Finally, Celeste lowered her gaze. I hated myself every day, she admitted quietly, but I couldn't stop. Nadia's expression remained calm. That wasn't love, she said softly. Love doesn't grow from stealing another person's peace. Celeste began crying again. I was afraid you'd leave and never come back. Nadia almost pitied her then. Almost. But you became the very thing that destroyed us. Celeste covered her face with trembling hands. I'm sorry. Nadia nodded once. I know. But forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Celeste eventually walked away alone beneath the afternoon sun. Nadia never stopped her. Marcos left the village 2 days later after repeated attempts to apologize failed. People watched silently as he loaded his bags into a taxi. The same villagers who once admired him now avoided his eyes. Poetic justice rarely arrives loudly. Sometimes it simply strips people of the image they carefully built. Weeks passed. Slowly, Nadia rebuilt herself. She repainted her bedroom walls, burned the letters beside the river one evening, while sunset turned the sky orange and gold, replaced the bed sheets, rearranged furniture, not to erase memory, but to reclaim space. One night, she stood before the closet where everything had changed. The door remained slightly open. For a long moment, she stared into its darkness. Then she smiled faintly. Because the closet had not destroyed her, it had revealed the truth hiding inside her life. And truth, no matter how painful, frees people eventually. Nadia shoved the letters back into the shoebox just before the bedroom door creaked open. Celeste stood there pretending to smile. Why are you sitting in the dark? I was looking for papers, Nadia replied calmly. For one brief second, Celeste glanced toward the closet with fear in her eyes. That was enough. The second Celeste left the room, Nadia collapsed onto the floor while thunder shook the house around her. Every memory suddenly felt poisoned. Every late night phone call, every sacrifice, every promise. But by morning, the tears had stopped. And that frightened Nadia more than the betrayal itself. Over the next few days, she quietly searched for answers instead of confronting anyone. The truth revealed itself piece by piece. A second toothbrush hidden beneath the sink, receipts from hotels, deleted messages recovered from her old tablet. Then one message shattered whatever hope she still carried. Celeste, when she comes back, what are we going to do? Marcos, she always forgives people. Nadia stared at those words for a long time. Not because they loved her kindness, because they depended on it. That evening, Marcos called from Belgium. I booked my flight, he said warmly. I'll be home next Friday. Home. The word almost made her laugh. You sound tired, he noticed. I am. A long silence followed. I miss you, Marcus whispered. Nadia looked slowly toward the closet, the kind of questions people ask before everything changes. Fear entered his voice immediately. Nadia, what's wrong? But she said nothing. Instead, she made a decision. The entire village would hear the truth. 3 days later, Nadia announced a welcome gathering at her home for Marcos's arrival. Curiosity spread quickly through the village because rumors already floated through the streets like smoke. The night of the gathering arrived beneath heavy storm clouds. Villagers filled the yard while soft music played in the background. Marcos arrived smiling, completely unaware of what waited for him. Then Nadia stood slowly and lifted her glass. I want to thank everyone who supported my family while I worked abroad. She began calmly. The yard grew silent. Distance teaches painful lessons. She continued. Sometimes you discover who truly loves you. Other times, you discover who was only waiting for your absence. Celeste's face lost color instantly. Then Nadia reached beneath the table and placed the shoebox in front of everyone. Gasps spread through the crowd as photographs, letters, and receipts passed between trembling hands. Marcus kissing Celeste, hotel confirmations, pictures taken inside Nadia's bedroom. Rain began pouring heavily. Explain how my best friend slept in my bed, Nadia said, her voice breaking. While I destroyed myself overseas, trying to build a future for us, nobody spoke because some betrayals are too ugly for words. Rain poured across the yard, while silence swallowed the crowd. Marcos tried stepping toward Nadia, but she backed away before he could touch her. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, he whispered. Nadia laughed bitterly through tears. That's what every betrayer says when the secret finally dies. Celeste broke down crying. You always had everything, she shouted. Everyone loved you. Nadia stared at her in disbelief. I worked until my hands bled overseas, she said quietly. What part of my life looked easy to you? Neither Celeste nor Marcus could answer. And somehow, their silence hurt more than the lies. Nadia slowly placed the letters back inside the shoebox. You didn't just betray me, she said. You destroyed the part of me that believed home was safe. Then she walked away from both of them, and for the first time in years, she chose herself. Marcus left the village days later in shame. Celeste became a ghost inside the community she once moved through proudly. But Nadia slowly rebuilt her life. She repainted her bedroom, burned the letters beside the river, replaced everything touched by betrayal. One night she stood in front of the closet where the truth had been hiding all along. Then she closed the door gently, not with anger, but with peace.